Well, hello again, everybody. Looks like we're back, but I had to put on the black hoodie today. Today, we're going to be discussing the seventh thing that people should consider before writing a novel series. And at this point, we're kind of discussing the things that people should consider before publishing the novel series, I guess. The next thing that an author should consider before writing or publishing a novel series is how many books should you have in your series? But more specifically, should you have a few thick books or a lot of thin books? The thickness of your books will determine how much it costs to make the books. And how much it costs to make the books will play a significant role in how much you need to sell your books for. Let's say it costs like $18, $20 or something just to make your book. Well, then you're going to have to at least sell your book for $18, $20, right? But you need to go above that so that you can make some profits. So you might be looking more like $30 just for one of your books. Now, if you're a well established author, if you're somebody who everybody knows the name of, well, then it's not a big deal. People are like, oh, it's, you know, Brandon Sanderson, it's Stephen King, whoever, right? Oh, sure, I'll drop $30 on that book. But if you're an aspiring author, if it's like a debut novel, you don't have a name for yourself. You don't have any reputation. And so it's much more difficult for you to encourage readers to give you a chance. If customers don't know who you are, then they're just throwing, let's say, $30 out there, just crossing their fingers, hoping that your book turns out to be pretty good. You know, the last thing you want is like 6,000 people to just jump onto some random author that they've never heard of, pay a large amount for a debut novel, like $30 or something, and then it turn out the book is terrible. This is why, if you want to traditionally publish your novels, the publishers will basically force you to make sure that your first book is shorter. They don't know if they're going to be able to make their money back because it's going to cost so much just to make the book. Think about big Hollywood movies. You know, if a studio has to pay out, let's say, $100 million just to make the movie, that's the budget, then they're probably going to spend another $100 million on marketing. That means they're approximately $200 million in the hole before, the first opening night to let people start buying tickets. That means that the studio needs to make at least $200 million just to break even. Ideally, they would like to double their money at least, so they're going to have to make $400 million just to get some profits. If it costs you, let's say, $20 just to make your book, just to print it, and then you're spending, several $1,000s. Let's say you spend $1,000 per month on marketing, like the first year. All right, so you're 12 grand in a hole, on top of you having to spend $20 just to make the books. You're going to have to up your cost to, let's say, $30, maybe $35, just so that you can make some profits and recoup some of these expenses so that you can try to get back in the green. Let's say that you are going to release your books or publish your books on Amazon. The Amazon royalties policy, I guess, basically is the author gets 60% and Amazon takes 40%. Okay, that sounds on the surface like it's not so bad, but it's incredibly misleading. I really don't like it. I think it's wrong. So let me explain. The way it works is, let's say you're going to sell your book for $10. Okay, well, if you're selling your book for $10, then in your mind, you might think, okay, I'm going to take $6 per sale, and Amazon's going to take $4 per sale. Well, that is, that would be you ignoring the fact that it costs money to print the book. So let's say it costs, let's say it costs $5 to print your book. Okay, so it's going to cost you $5 just to print the book, and you're selling it for $10. Okay, so in your mind, you're thinking, all right, so it takes $5 to print. That leaves us, you and Amazon, $5. You can then split the $5 40-60. Okay, that's not too bad, I suppose. No, that's not how they do it. You see, the way they do it, the way Amazon does it, is if you sell your book for $10, then they're going to take their 40% off the top. So that means they're going to take their $4. Then from the remaining $6, that's where your printing cost comes from. So the $5 that it costs just to print the book, that's coming out of your 60% cut. So that means you sell a book for $10, Amazon would get $4, and you would get $1. This means when you go to sell your book, you're going to have to decide what matters most to you. Do you want to make some money, or is your goal just to get the books out there? You know, profit's not really a big deal to you, because you can lower your price to the absolute bare minimum so that you're covering the costs just to print, and then you're taking home nothing. Or you boost the price up enough, and you can at least get a $1, $2, maybe $3 per sale. But again, it's really going to be important for you to consider how thick your book is, because that's going to determine the cost of printing and thus how much you need to charge per sale. So let's say that you had a 9-book series planned out, okay? 9 books. If those books are on the thinner side, you could technically put multiple books in one physical book. You could put book 1 and then have like a title page, and then book 2, all in the same physical book. So there's 2 different stories, or 2 different books, 2 different manuscripts in one physical book. So when a person buys your one book, it's a thicker book, and it's got multiples inside of it, sort of like an omnibus. Technically, if you had 9 books, what you could do is you could put out a trilogy, and in each one of your 3 books, there's 3 of your smaller books in it. Or on the flip side, maybe you just want to write a trilogy, and these books are pretty thick. They're really thick books, and it might cost you a lot of money just to print these books. So what you might be able to do is break these books into pieces. So instead of 3 thick books, maybe you break it down into 9 thin books. This goes back to what the heart of this video is about. You need to consider, should you write a few thick books or a lot of thinner books? Now, I'm not saying that you should do one or the other, it's just something that you should consider. However, there are some things that you should consider while making this consideration. These days, people really like to binge things, not just food. People want to binge, watch shows. People want to binge a whole band's like discography. And when it comes to books, a lot of people want to binge read a whole series. No. Now you see why I got the rope. But there are people who will see a book is going to come out and that it's going to be part of a series, and they will hold off from reading that book until the whole series is out, until it's published. And this actually messes up some authors because they will release, let's say, book one, book two, and then they're not seeing sales, and they're like, geez, I guess this was a stupid idea to write these books. I'm just going to give up because no one seems to care. Meanwhile, there might be a whole bunch of people just sitting off, waiting for the whole series to come out so that they can then begin buying the books because they just want to buy them all. This goes back to what I said in one of my other videos where I was talking about how people they're not patient anymore. They have short attention spans, and so they want all the books at once. Man, look at all the authors on YouTube who like to sit inside and rubbing up against this tree limb. They want to sit inside, sit by the fire under blankets and sleeping bags or whatever, sitting by the fire and sipping their hot brew while they talk about books. Meanwhile, I'm out here working hard for all my loyal subscribers on YouTube. I think there's like 12 of you. It's okay, man. With 12 people, a man can change the world. So keep that in mind. When you are writing your books and publishing your books, you might not see the sales that you wanted, that you think you're gonna get. And it's just because your series isn't complete. There are perfectionists who just want to buy it all up. Me personally, I like old school stuff. I like DVDs. And I've got whole DVD sets of shows of like old sitcoms and cartoons that I liked from my childhood, different anime, stuff like that. I got the whole show like in box sets at the house. And it's just because I want to watch them all. Well, that and the fact that I don't have television. But still, if you ask people to sit down and watch a 3-hour movie, a lot of people don't want to do it. They'll say, no way, that's just way too much. I can't do that. I can't sit down and watch a 3-hour movie. No way. But then that same person or those same people, they will happily sit down for 3 hours and binge watch TV shows. They would happily watch 6 30-minute episodes of a show, but they would never sit down and watch a single 3-hour movie. You run into the same thing with music. So with music, it's hard to get someone to sit down and listen to a single 10-minute song. Like 10-minute song? Well, no way, man. That's boring. But then they'll happily listen to 5 songs that are only 2 minutes each. What's the difference? It's this weird psychological thing where people, they don't have a problem over consuming, but they do have a problem with the idea of committing to something that's going to take a lot of effort. Damn, look at this track. You see this? Look, hold on. Look at my fist compared to that. That's a big boy. So on social media, I actually asked people, what would you prefer to do? Would you rather read 3 books that are 600 pages long each? Or would you rather read 9 books that are only 200 pages each? That vote was 100% for the 9 books that were only 200 pages each. Now, did I have a really big polling number? Nah, it was like 4 or 5 people. But those 4 or 5 people, that's what they voted for. But hey, that's my research. That's what I was able to come up with from my small polling pool. And when I compare that to the things I just said about a 3-hour movie versus 6 episodes of that are 30 minutes each, or a 10-minute song versus 5 2-minute songs, that rings true. So, like I said, I'm not saying that you should do one or the other, but from my own logic and what little research I put into it, it seems like having a lot of thinner books is the way to go. Now that's the route that I'm taking with my novel series. I'm just going to have a bunch of books that are on the smaller side. In fact, my novel series is actually going to be only 7 novels. The other 3 books are novellas. Originally, I was planning a trilogy, but I started thinking more about this stuff, and then I did that little polling thing, and it seemed like people just really didn't like the idea of a bunch of thicker books. I was going to do the thing where it splits up so that it's like 3 books in 1 book kind of thing. But I realized it might be better to do the mini books that are skinnier. There is an issue, however, with trying to pursue this thing that I'm saying that I'm going to do, which is, if you have a solid book, if it's like a thicker book, like 700 pages, you might not be able to logically break it in half or break it into 3 pieces. If you can't split it up into different books, don't do it and then mess up your story. I can't stress enough. I'm not telling you what to do. You got to do what you think is best for your story. There are plenty of really thick books that work out great. So it's not like that option is just a no-go. It totally can work. But there are pros and cons that you got to consider whichever way you go. Because I'm trying to do the skinnier books, the thinner books, I'm going to be pricing my books cheaper. So for the novels, they're all going to be like $15. And then the novellas, they're only going to be like $11, something like that. And originally, I was actually going to do them even cheaper than that. But I got like a notification from Amazon, and it said that the cost or whatever is going to go up, I guess because of inflation or something. Or maybe they're printed overseas and tariffs. I don't know. But they said I had to raise the price by like June something. So I had to recalculate some things. But if I was going to do the trilogy, or I guess it would have been like 4 books that were like really thick, I probably would have had to charge probably like $30 per book or something, because I've also got the illustrations, and that boosts the ink costs. So because I've got the pictures, that's more ink. It just they raise the price on you. Uh, Another little tip: you have 2 different types of pages that you can have. You can have like the cream kind of yellow pages, and then you have the nice solid white or bright white pages. Your standard book, particularly fiction, is going to be those yellow creamy pages. Those creamy pages are cheaper, and any pictures that you print like internal illustrations, they're going to be black and gray. If you want to have color images, then you have to go with the bright white pages or paper, and that's going to cost you a lot more money just to print because of the actual paper they're using, but also because of all the extra colored inks in the process. But typically, the white paper is more of like a non-fiction kind of thing, unless you're doing like kids picture book kind of thing. Then obviously, kids want the bright colors. I would imagine that's partly why kids picture books tend to be really thin. You ever consider that? One, short attention span, but also it's going to cost them a whole lot more money to make those books with the white pages with all these colored images. One last thing to consider. I know we've discussed profits in a previous video, but in this regard, if you publish, let's say, 3 really thick books, and you have to raise your price just so that you can, make some kind of profit, you might make only $1. Okay. Well, you make $1 from each book. There's only 3 books. So if someone buys your whole trilogy, you're getting about $3. If you have, let's say, the 9 books, you break it into 9 shorter novels, maybe even a novella or 2. If you go at it that way, you can lower the price so that readers are more inclined to buy your book. It doesn't cost them so much up front. And you only get maybe $1 for, if someone buys your book. But if you've got 9 books, well, now you're going to be making $9 off of the whole series, opposed to the only $3 if it was a trilogy. Now, that can sound really good, but I encourage you to go back and check out the prices video where I discuss just because you have more books, that doesn't mean you're going to make more money. You've got to get people to buy all these books for that to happen. This is all just another thing that you should consider. But I guess that's all I got for this video. I think I'll walk around a little bit more, maybe get some pictures in the snow and go inside and try to warm up a little bit. Fingers getting kind of cold. Maybe even do some editing. But I guess until next time. Later.